Today, December 11th, Archangel Michael says, seconds remain. God tried reaching you before, but you skipped. This time don't scroll away. Something sudden is opening. My child, there were only moments left before you would have scrolled away again, my beloved child. You felt that familiar pull to keep moving, to avoid what feels too close, too specific, too divinely timed. But don't skip this. Something is reaching for you now, and for once you are not meant to walk away from it. Tonight, today, in this very moment, the timing aligned in a way it rarely does, and this message was placed directly in front of you so you could not miss it. There were only 10 seconds left before you dismissed the sign again. 10 seconds before you would have distracted yourself. 10 seconds before you would have convinced your heart that it was coincidence, not intention. Yet here you are, watching, pausing, feeling, sensing that something about this moment is different. And it is. Stay with me. Stay with this message. Because what is coming through now was delayed each time you closed the tab, each time you hurried past what was meant to reach you, each time you told yourself, I'll listen later. Later kept becoming never, and never kept pushing blessings further away. But heaven could not allow the delay to continue. You are not here accidentally. You are not hearing these words by chance. There were whispers before, inner signals, subtle nudges, repeating numbers, dreams that faded too quickly, gentle chills across your arms that you brushed off as nothing. They were not nothing. They were invitations, divine reminders, threads being woven into your path so that one day, when the timing aligned, you would stop long enough to receive. And that day is now. Don't scroll. Don't run from this feeling. You have been asking questions in the quiet, and heaven watched each one fall into silence. You have wondered if you were forgotten, if your prayers dissolved before reaching the ear of God, if the universe had turned away. You have stared at unanswered doors, unanswered messages, unanswered chapters, and assumed abandonment. But abandonment never happened. Delay did. Delay is not rejection. Delay is orchestration. You kept surviving, even when you felt emptied. You kept holding on, even when it felt like the world loosened its hold on you. You kept breathing through pain that no one else saw. And heaven saw that. This is why you were called back here again. Because this moment is safe. Because your heart is open enough now. Because what is arriving needed you fully available, emotionally awake, spiritually steady, willing to receive without fear of losing. Stay until the end. Something you prayed for, something you assumed was lost, something you thought could never shift is already moving toward you. The moment you paused here, the energy shifted. You didn't miss it this time. You didn't walk away. And because of that, something that was waiting has now been released toward you. And before this message continues, let yourself breathe. Let your shoulders fall. Let the heaviness loosen. Because you are stepping into a moment that was written before you even understood what waiting meant. The door is creaking open. The light is beginning to break through. And now that you have stayed, heaven can finally speak clearly into your life. This marks the turning of a cycle you prayed to end. You were about to miss this message again because part of you has learned to silence what feels too sacred. You scroll past things that stir something deep, because when something feels too aligned, it scares you. You convince yourself that signs are coincidences, that timing is accidental, that messages like this are meant for someone stronger, someone more certain, someone more deserving. You have trained yourself to avoid anything that asks your heart to open again. You were about to skip this because life has conditioned you to expect disappointment. You've had seasons where every time hope rose, something fell apart. You learned to protect yourself by disconnecting emotionally, by staying one step removed. You called it being realistic, but heaven knew it was self-preservation. When guidance tries to speak to you, you often pause just long enough to feel a spark, then you pull back. You say, later, even when later never arrives. You feel the nudge but don't follow it. You question it, analyze it, assume you're imagining it. You've been trained by heartbreak to distrust what feels too good, too personal, too exact. And yet right now, you're still here. Stay to the end, clarity will arrive. There is a deeper reason you almost missed this. Every time heaven tried to reach you, your mind stepped in before your spirit could respond. Your logic said, "No, this is nothing," while your soul whispered, "This is for me." Fear has made you hesitate. Exhaustion made you numb. Past letdowns made you assume that divine timing wasn't real. But when something is meant for you, it returns. It waits. It circles back. You've been in survival mode, and survival mode doesn't leave room for messages that require trust. You've been functioning, getting through days, meeting obligations, pretending you're fine. But heaven does not speak to who you are pretending to be. Heaven speaks to who you truly are, under the layers, beneath the defenses. You were about to skip this because opening your heart feels dangerous. You worry that receiving guidance sets you up for disappointment or that believing in timing makes you vulnerable. But the truth is this: vulnerability is where alignment rests. Sensitivity is not weakness, it is spiritual access. There have been signs everywhere lately, but you kept brushing them away. The repeated numbers. The name that keeps showing up. The dream that lingered. The shift in energy around certain people. You told yourself it was your imagination, or coincidence, or nothing important. It wasn't nothing. It was divine repetition. This message is one of the final confirmations, arriving not when you were ready logically, but when your spirit finally softened enough to listen. That's why you are here now. That's why you didn't scroll this time. Something in you recognized truth before your mind could interfere. You almost missed this, but destiny insisted. And now, because you stayed, what was once blocked will begin to reach you. The clarity that has been hidden will unfold, piece by piece, word by word, and you will finally understand what was meant for you all along. There have been moments in your life where everything paused, and you assumed it was rejection, abandonment, or failure. But heaven was trying to intervene long before you understood why doors needed to close. What looked like delay was protection. What looked like silence was divine restructuring. What looked like loss was actually shielding you from someone or something that was unstable, unfinished, or unsafe for your spirit. Archangel Michael has stood between you and situations that would have drained your energy, your confidence, and your worth. There were relationships that never advanced, opportunities that looked promising but never formed, and conversations that suddenly stopped. At the time, it felt like disappointment, yet heaven was removing you from harm. When something is not aligned, heaven interrupts the momentum until truth is revealed. There were nights when you wondered why prayers weren't answered immediately, why breakthroughs didn't arrive when you begged for them, why something you wanted so deeply never manifested. But heaven never ignored you. Instead, heaven began repairing what your heart could not see. Someone's intentions had not matured. Someone's loyalty was still divided. Someone's energy was not clean. Heaven stepped in before you could attach too deeply. Archangel Michael guarded your path when you were unaware that spiritual interference was forming. You felt confusion, emotional heaviness, or sudden distance, and you blamed yourself. In reality, Spirit placed separation because connection at that time would have fractured something valuable inside you. Intervention occurs when your spirit knows what your heart refuses to release. The delays were not punishment. They were preparation. You needed to heal the parts of you that accepted too little, trusted too quickly, or sacrificed your peace to keep something from leaving. Heaven could not give you blessings before you understood how precious you are. You were learning boundaries, awakening discernment, reclaiming identity, and remembering sacred worth. Every unanswered prayer had timing wrapped around it. If it had landed before you were ready, you would have abandoned yourself to hold on to it. Heaven refused to let that happen. And though you questioned it, protection surrounded every stalled moment. The silence you felt was spiritual maintenance. The waiting was recalibration. The stillness was alignment forming. You were not failing, you were being preserved. Archangel Michael has been walking ahead of you, clearing energies that tried to attach to your spirit. You were shielded from people who mask their intentions, from opportunities built on false promises, from cycles that would have repeated the same heartbreak. Right now, relief begins to form, because you are realizing you were never unchosen, you were guarded. And the moment protection finishes its assignment, blessings start moving again. What paused begins releasing. What disappeared returns in purified form. What was delayed now becomes sustainable. Heaven intervenes so what comes next arrives whole. There has been a battle around your name, one you could not see, one you sensed only through sudden heaviness, unexplained setbacks, or moments when everything slowed without warning. You thought it was bad timing, bad luck, or something wrong with you. But it was warfare. There were energies that did not want you to rise, people who silently resented your light, and forces that tried to distort how others perceived you. Every delay, every unexpected shift, every loss that didn't make sense had roots in something spiritual. There were individuals who spoke your name without love, people who compared themselves to you, questioned your blessings, and wished that what was meant for you would never arrive. They could not understand why, despite hardship, you continued to carry grace. Your resilience irritated those who desired the same outcome but refused the same growth. Some tried to take credit for your ideas. Some minimized your efforts. Some smiled while internal conflict rose within them. And yet, you were defended even when you didn't realize. When someone questioned your path, heaven tightened protection. When jealousy formed, doors closed. When someone attempted to manipulate your generosity, truth revealed itself. When someone secretly wished your spirit would break, your strength increased instead. The spiritual battle was never about what you could see, it was about what you carry. Because your presence alone disrupts environments where authenticity is lacking. Your healing exposed wounds in people who never attempted their own. Your progress illuminated stagnation in others. Your compassion revealed emptiness in those who move without heart. There were nights when your sleep felt restless, days when your confidence suddenly dipped, moments where something invisible drained your joy. That was resistance forming around your spirit. You were being pulled so that you would shrink, become silent, doubt your identity, or abandon opportunities that were already assigned to you. But Archangel Michael has been intercepting what was directed at you. Words spoken against you were dissolved. Plans meant to keep you stuck fell apart. The influence of those who worked against you weakened. Heaven disrupted conversations formed in secrecy. Your name was defended in rooms you never entered. The battle was not to stop you, it was to delay you long enough so that discouragement would make you stop yourself. But you didn't. And that is why the resistance is losing power now. Every attack, every misinterpretation, every subtle form of sabotage ultimately protected you from attaching to people who could not celebrate your blessing. You were removed from places where your presence would have been compromised. You were shielded from connections that would have depleted your spirit. What once worked against you cannot reach you now. The spiritual interference has weakened. Jealousy has been exposed. Hidden agendas are dissolving. Energies projected toward you have been returned to sender. You are not entering this next season unprotected, you are stepping into it defended and covered, with heaven acknowledging where you are being sent next. Your name is now tied to favor, not resistance, and what was once blocked is opening with divine clarity. For so long, it felt as if everything in your life was paused in midair, prayers unanswered, conversations unfinished, opportunities stalled just before breakthrough. You tried to move forward, yet doors stayed still, timelines stretched longer than you ever imagined, and moments that were supposed to unfold seemed frozen. But what was delayed is now releasing. The energy that once held everything in suspension has loosened, and you are stepping into a moment where alignment is active, present, and finally moving on your behalf. If you are still watching, it means the release is already in motion. Divine timing was not denying you, it was orchestrating details beyond your awareness. Someone needed clarity before approaching you. A financial shift needed to happen before the opportunity could land. A move, a conversation, a confession, or a decision needed time to mature. Now those pieces have fallen into place. What once felt blocked will begin unfolding with almost startling speed. You may notice it through small changes first, a sudden message from someone you thought disappeared, unexpected information, or a door reopening after months of silence. You might hear your name mentioned in connection with opportunities that seemed far out of reach. Something is coming back around, not as it once was, but strengthened, stabilized, and aligned correctly. Archangel Michael has cleared pathways that were previously tangled with interference. The delays that frustrated your spirit were actually protecting what would one day be sacred. Nothing was lost, it was simply not ready. You are entering a time when no turns into now. Movement begins quietly before it becomes visible. A conversation takes place behind the scenes. A person realizes their mistake. A decision is finalized. A space opens up where there was no room before. Heaven is reorganizing your trajectory. You will not have to chase what belongs to you, it will find you. This release will not require exhaustion, convincing, or begging. Doors will open because they were designed to. Your alignment is matching what was always meant. And what returns will arrive differently, with peace instead of anxiety, assurance instead of confusion, harmony instead of imbalance. What was delayed is being released in waves. Your spirit will feel movement first, your energy lifting, your hope returning, your clarity sharpening. Then the physical world will reflect what heaven already shifted. The timing is not vague anymore. It is now. Stay with this message. Stay connected to what your spirit already knows. The release that once seemed far away is unfolding in real time, and you will look back on this moment as the one where everything began to move in your favor, with ease, with truth, and with divine certainty. There was a moment recently when you reached the edge of your strength. You sat with the heaviness, wondering if anything was ever going to move, if all your effort was in vain, if the loneliness meant you were forgotten. You felt invisible, unsupported, left to navigate life with no reassurance that something better was forming. That moment, the one where you felt emotionally drained and spiritually empty, was not failure. It was completion. When you reached the point of saying, "I can't do this anymore," heaven heard something deeper than exhaustion. You were releasing control, releasing timelines, releasing expectations that weighed your soul down. You were not giving up, you were letting go. There is a difference. Giving up is abandonment of destiny. Letting go is surrender to divine orchestration. The heaviness you felt was evidence of an ending. Cycles close spiritually before they close physically. Your soul was finished with what was unaligned. Your energy was withdrawing from what could no longer support the person you are becoming. When you felt empty, it wasn't because nothing was ahead, it was because what was behind you no longer nourished you. That breaking point was the sign. Because when a spiritual cycle ends, your spirit loses attachment to what once mattered. Conversations no longer satisfy. Patterns no longer feel familiar. People you once held tightly start fading in relevance. It feels like sadness, but it is actually clearing. It feels like isolation, but it is actually emancipation. You were being prepared for transition. Archangel Michael watched that moment, not with sorrow, but with recognition. When you released, heaven could intervene. When you finally stopped pushing, pressure dissolved. When you surrendered, alignment began. The divine cannot fill closed hands, yours finally opened. The moment you almost walked away, something shifted. Heaven stepped in. Support began moving. Doors started loosening. But you couldn't see it then. Spiritual change always activates before physical manifestation. The truth is this: your breakdown signaled your breakthrough. When you reached emotional emptiness, space was created for fulfillment. When you let go of what wasn't working, room opened for what is destined. When you allowed yourself to feel the sadness instead of hiding it, you reset your spirit. You are not weak for reaching that point. You are evolving. Stay here. Stay open. You didn't quit, you surrendered. And that surrender is what unlocked what is on the way now. There were things you wanted so deeply that when they slipped away, it felt like your heart was dissolving. You grieved the loss of what you believed was meant to stay. You questioned yourself, wondering why something that once felt aligned suddenly broke apart. But you were being prepared for something different, something your soul needed, not just something your emotions desired. Heaven did not remove anything to punish you, only to reroute you toward what would not collapse once it arrived. The rejection you faced was not rejection at all, it was redirection. When that relationship unraveled, it wasn't because you were unworthy. It was because your growth would have been capped. The version of you emerging now could not be held by someone who still lived unfinished chapters. The silence from someone wasn't abandonment, it was divine disconnection, closing space so that attachment wouldn't drag you backward. The door that closed was not a denial, it was protection against settling where love would remain conditional. Even in your work or career, the sudden reversal, the job that fell through, the project that dissolved, the opportunity that evaporated, was shifting you away from places where your talent would be used but not valued. You weren't meant to survive environments that drained your spirit. You were being prepared for alignment, expansion, respect, and fulfillment. You were being guided toward a role, a space, or a purpose that doesn't require shrinking just to belong. The financial delays weren't punishment either. If the increase had come too soon, it would have been spent on things or people not meant to continue with you. What was withheld was not taken, it was preserved. Delayed abundance is still abundance, it simply arrives when it can sustain you, not stress you. Every loss had meaning. Every ending had placement. Every closed door was a boundary your heart was not strong enough to enforce alone. You were being taught discernment. You were developing inner strength that doesn't collapse when external approval disappears. You learned to stand in seasons where others withdrew. You learned patience without resentment. You learned to see yourself without someone else's validation. All of that was preparation. What is coming requires emotional maturity, a steady spirit, and the ability to receive without fear of losing. You are ready in a way you weren't before. You used to love from insecurity. Now you love from clarity. You used to chase. Now you attract. You used to settle. Now you wait. You used to cling. Now you release. Preparation is rarely comfortable. It strips, softens, empties, and reshapes you. But now the reshaping is complete. What is meant for you next will not collapse. What belongs will not require sacrifice of peace. What comes into your life now will match the person you have grown into, not the person you once tolerated being. You are being positioned for something different, something lasting. There is something coming toward you that will not arrive gradually, not slowly, not through long build-up, it will appear suddenly. What felt permanently closed will open without warning. A message you thought would never be written will reach you. An offer you assumed was gone will circle back. A door you believed was sealed will unlock, not because you chased it, but because timing shifted. Today begins the change, and what unfolds next will feel like the moment a storm clears and sunlight breaks through without transition. There will be no confusion about whether this is coincidence. It will be precise, unmistakably intentional, divinely orchestrated. Someone may reach out with clarity they never had before. A situation will resolve without you forcing it. A decision long delayed will be finalized quickly. Something that took months to stagnate will take minutes to move. In one moment everything shifts. Where you expected silence, there will be communication. Where you expected delay, there will be acceleration. Where you once felt forgotten, you will feel chosen. Heaven has arranged a release that does not require your effort, only your openness. This blessing comes in a form that honors your growth. It is not returning the old version of what you lost. It is bringing the healed version. The aligned version. The version that cannot break because it was strengthened during the time apart. This is why it had to take so long, so that when it arrived, it would be stable. Expect surprise, because alignment appears without announcement. You may wake up to news. You may receive an invitation. You may discover something has been shifting behind the scenes. Someone may admit what they never had the courage to say. The timing will be perfect, even though it will feel sudden. What made you cry will bring peace. What felt unfinished will complete itself. What you thought was over will restart with divine order. This blessing does not come with chaos. It comes with certainty. It comes with clarity. It comes with timing that feels so exact you will realize heaven was choreographing every detail. There will be signs before it arrives, lightness in your spirit, unexpected ease, a shift in conversation, or a sudden burst of inner anticipation. These are spiritual confirmations that the blessing is already forming. You will feel alignment before you see it. And when it appears, it will not take from you. It will give back what was depleted. It will restore what was dimmed. It will validate what your soul already knew. Today begins the change. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today is the shift. Today something begins moving. Today something reopens. You didn't miss it this time. You didn't walk away from the message. You stayed long enough for release to activate. And in this sudden blessing, you will understand why everything took the time it did, because the moment it arrives, you will see that what you waited for was worth not receiving sooner. This is the breakthrough that enters fully, not halfway. This is what was meant for you all along. You may feel uncertain about what is arriving, but Archangel Michael says receiving does not begin with action, it begins with openness. Do not rush, do not doubt, do not shrink back into fear. Open yourself emotionally, even if your heart feels fragile. What is coming is not demanding, it is settling. Your only task is to allow. Forgiveness is part of receiving. When you carry resentment or unspoken disappointment, your spirit stays clenched. You are not releasing people to excuse them, you are releasing so that the blessing does not land in a crowded emotional space. Make room. Say quietly within yourself, I release what no longer echoes truth for me. When you release, heaven fills the space immediately. Build boundaries gently. Boundaries are not walls, they are clarity. Speak your needs. Say what hurts. Say what you require. Love without abandoning yourself. Give without depletion. When you honor yourself, heaven honors you more visibly. Trust is also receiving. Not blind trust, not forced optimism, spiritual steadiness. Trust means believing that if something is being sent to you now, it is safe to hold. You are not fragile anymore. You are not in danger of losing yourself. You are stronger than when the journey began. Do not stop watching, your instruction is here. Allow blessings without feeling unworthy. When support arrives, say yes. When opportunity calls, answer. When someone chooses you, let yourself be chosen. There is no need to overthink what already belongs to you. Archangel Michael says, soften. You do not have to control how people respond, how outcomes materialize, or when the door opens. Soft receiving is stronger than guarded anticipation. You are not being tested anymore, you are being met. Release pressure from yourself. Let joy in slowly at first, then fully. You are allowed to enjoy what is arriving. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to feel held. Receiving is permission. Permission to grow. Permission to believe again. Permission to not apologize for being blessed. Hold still emotionally. Breathe. Say quietly, I can receive without fear. The moment you accept that truth, the energy aligns. Heaven is bringing something sustainable, not temporary. Make space internally, and the external blessing will land with grace. You are stepping into a phase where reciprocity finds you. No more pouring into one-sided situations. No more questioning whether someone sees your worth. What comes now sees you clearly. Receive without feeling indebted. Love does not invoice your heart. Receiving is balance, not burden. What is coming will meet you where you are, not demand you shrink. You are finally ready to be cared for, supported, chosen in ways that feel aligned with who you have become now fully. When blessings arrive, your first instinct may be to question them. You have been conditioned to assume that when something feels too good, it cannot possibly last. But Archangel Michael warns that what is coming next requires a different response. Do not sabotage what comes through doubt disguised as caution. Do not run when someone finally shows up with sincerity. Do not shrink when opportunity recognizes you. This is the moment when your old patterns will attempt to reappear, not because you are failing, but because your spirit is entering unfamiliar territory. You have been abandoned before, so when affection appears, you anticipate distance. You have been overlooked, so when recognition comes, you brace for disappointment. You have been let down, so when support arrives, you analyze it until it loses its warmth. But you cannot bring old wounds into newly aligned spaces. The blessing does not resemble the pain. You are not meant to flee when goodness touches your life. Archangel Michael says that when someone reaches out with real intention, respond rather than withdraw. When peace meets you, stop searching for the hidden storm. When something arrives easily, stop assuming you must earn it. Your past was conditional, inconsistent, unstable, but your future is not built from those same ingredients. When doors open quickly, do not mistrust the timing. Acceleration is not danger, it is alignment. This blessing does not require being chased. It does not require pleading, proving, or emotional exhaustion. What is coming meets you without negotiation because heaven already prepared it. But you must not sabotage it with overthinking. Do not push away what you secretly prayed for. Fear will whisper that stability is temporary. Doubt will try to convince you that you will lose what you gain. But fear speaks from memory, destiny speaks from truth. You must choose truth now. Speak it internally, I can keep what is meant for me. This is not the moment to hide emotionally. You no longer need to minimize yourself so others feel comfortable. You do not need to dim your spirit to remain accepted. Those days are over. You are being called to respond differently. To receive without holding your breath. To love without waiting for abandonment. To celebrate without anticipating collapse. Your responsibility is not perfection, it is presence. Show up fully. Be visible. Say yes when blessing knocks, because this time it is not temporary. It is not fragile. It is not halfway formed. You are standing in answered prayer, and the only way to lose it now is to step back when life is asking you to step forward. Do not sabotage through fear, step into what is finally yours. There were times when you looked at your life and wondered if you were behind everyone else. You compared timelines, watched others progress, and assumed you missed your moment. You thought you were late, delayed, overlooked, or moving slower than destiny intended. But heaven confirms you were never late. You arrived exactly when the path could hold you, not a moment earlier and not a moment later. Divine timing is measured not by opinion, but by readiness. You had seasons where you blamed yourself. You replayed decisions, imagined alternate outcomes, and convinced your heart that if you had acted differently, everything would look different now. Heaven saw that pain. Heaven heard the quiet whispers of regret. But regret is memory filtered through fear, alignment is memory understood through purpose. Nothing was wasted. The timing of your arrival into this next chapter has been orchestrated down to the very hour. You needed every lesson, every heartbreak, every silence to refine you. What felt like delays were foundations being set. What felt like inactivity was spiritual architecture forming beneath the surface. You were developing emotional intelligence, deeper faith, higher discernment, and inner strength that premature blessings would have damaged. You are not late, you are aligned. There are people who think you disappeared or slowed down, but heaven slowed your pace so you didn't live someone else's timeline. You are entering relationships, environments, opportunities, and dialogues that would not have recognized your worth had they met you earlier. The version of you that stands here now carries authority, clarity, and presence that past versions did not yet embody. Heaven waited for you to become ready. If success had arrived earlier, you might have accepted less compensation. If love arrived earlier, you might have sacrificed yourself to keep it. If purpose revealed itself earlier, you might have doubted your qualifications. Delay protected you from rushing into what was not stable. There is no missed destiny for someone who is still evolving. The divine does not observe time through comparison. Your path is an individual timeline woven with precise intention. Some souls grow in sudden leaps, others unfold in quiet seasons that look slow but are profoundly sacred. You are the latter. Quiet growth is still growth. Unseen transformation is still transformation. Heaven says, you are right on schedule. Every opportunity rushing toward you now already knows who you are. It recognizes your capacity. It honors your resilience. There is nothing you must prove or chase. The blessing is arriving to meet you where you currently stand, not where you used to be. Let go of regret. Release the belief that you should have been further by now. What other people built earlier was meant for their path. Yours is awakened now. Breathe into that truth. This moment is not late, it is exact. What unfolds next will not slip from your hands. You will not lose what arrives. You do not need to apologize for your pace. You are stepping into the perfect intersection of readiness and opportunity. Heaven confirms you are right on time. This is where the message settles into completion, and heaven speaks with clarity. Open quickly, because what is coming will not enter slowly. It will not wait for you to feel more prepared, more confident, more certain. When the blessing arrives, it will arrive in full motion. Sudden change is no longer distant, it is activated. Everything spoken over you in quiet places, everything whispered into your heart when you were hurting, everything you feared was forgotten is now unfolding. Protection has already gone ahead of you. Archangel Michael has cleared pathways that once felt tangled. Delay has been lifted. Interference has been dissolved. You are no longer walking toward blessing, it is already walking toward you. It will land in the very space where heaviness once lived. The emptiness will be replaced. What you were waiting for has begun its movement, and it will reach you in a form that cannot be mistaken. Open quickly. Not in desperation, but in readiness. This is not a season of striving. This is not a season of convincing. What arrives will carry peace, confirmation, and stability. Heaven is sending what fits, not what drains, questions, complicates, or confuses. What comes next will reflect your growth. It will carry full alignment, full clarity, full reciprocity. The suddenness is not chaotic, it is divine strategy. Doors that once resisted will open without effort. People who once hesitated will declare their intentions. Opportunities that required struggle will present themselves freely. You are stepping into an atmosphere where what belongs to you has been prepared down to the exact moment. Heaven has watched every tear. Heaven has witnessed every silent prayer spoken at night. Heaven has counted every time you tried to stay strong when no one noticed you were breaking. That effort did not disappear. It matured your blessing. Now heaven expects you to respond. Respond with openness, not skepticism. Respond with confidence, not hesitation. Respond as someone who recognizes divine arrival. Say it within yourself, I am ready for what is mine. When the door opens, step. When the message arrives, answer. When clarity appears, receive it. The waiting season has expired, and breakthrough is not symbolic, it is real. Declare, I receive, so the blessing is sealed. Today matters. Today is not ordinary. Today is the shift. Something within this exact timing has been activated, and you will not return to old dry seasons again. You are stepping into fulfillment you once prayed for with trembling hands. You are covered. You are guided. You are chosen. Open quickly, because when everything appears, it will happen suddenly, and you will know that heaven did not delay, heaven perfected the moment.